Welcome to Card Central 365, powered by Gray Bar. This is STL Sports Central. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Stefan Caray and Mike Claiborne, who, again, brings the presentation from the Painting and Decorating Foundation of St. Louis. Claibs, great start to the homestand for the Cardinals, taking 2 of 3 from the Cubs. Now you get what you would think is an easier series against the Rockies, but you can't sleep on them after the last time that the Cardinals played the boys in purple. Now, 3.5 games back at the final wild card spot, they're in a better position than they were just a few days ago.
Yeah, they are. And you're right. You're spot on about the Rockies. If there's one team that you should probably be focused on, it's obviously them and how they handle the Cardinals when they were out in Denver. So it's something that I am not going to take for granted, but I expect a sweep. And I was asking Joe Roderick earlier, what happens if this team is 7-2 at the end of this homestand? I mean, they're obviously going to be back in it. And, the question is, at that point, how do you get better? I don't know if you can, because when the September call-ups take place, I'm not sure if any of those 3 people that you have the opportunity to call up can have an immediate impact or buy you some time. So what you see is what you get. And I think it's a tribute to the manager and his staff on how you've been able to, finagle this thing this far. When you think about it, your third baseman who offensively couldn't produce what you would hope for, your pitching has been average on its best day. I mean, you take out Sonny and everybody else is a flip of the coin with every start that they have. The defense has been solid. Mason Wynn, if there's a better shortstop right now playing, I'd like to meet him. He only has 2 errors on the season. He makes things happen. The defense has been solid in the outfield. I think one of the people that we have not talked enough about is the emergence of Jordan Walker. He had an error on the other night, and it should have been charged at Contreras. Official scoring today is awful. But before that, he only had 1 error and had 4 assists on the year and plays a very solid right field. So a lot of good things going on. But I'll go back to my original question. What if they're 7-2 when this homestand is over?
And I think they were written off by a lot of the fans. They were written off by a lot of the people and the media in town. And it's understandable as to why. They were in a free fall about 2.5 weeks ago. There was no denying that this team looked like they were headed for the cellar. But you also have talked about addition by subtraction. You have subtracted a couple of key pieces, but now you're starting to see who these players are. And it begs the question, Claibs, how much of this do you think is the comfort in knowing that they don't have to go and be 2 games out of first place in the Central Division like they were in early June? How much of it is comfort in knowing, okay, we might have a chance at a wild card spot, but it isn't everything if we don't get there? Do you think that's making them play looser?
Yeah, I think so. I really do. I think the fact that instead of watching the standings, they just come up and play. And I had a feeling they would play well last night. When you were embarrassed the night before, and that's happened to every team. Good teams don't let it happen 2 nights in a row. And I thought the way they played hard and played tough last night let me know that they still are locked in. But I agree with you. I think this team is playing looser. I think there's some distractions that have been reduced. And I think you're going to see these guys go out and give it effort.
And I love the style in which they're playing. They're winning games 5-4, 3-2. They're not winning 11-10. That just doesn't seem like a feasible outcome for this group in particular. My manager last year at Amarillo, Tim Bogar, who played in the major leagues and was bench coach in the major leagues, he said, baseball's a game that's supposed to be won 3-2. The fences were put up for the reason of stopping the ball from rolling. This team, especially where you don't have a whole lot of power, it's refreshing to see them winning in that fashion.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the way they manufactured the final run, the game-winning run last night, Walker gets on base, steals a bag, and I'm not sure if anybody was expecting that. So, he steals a bag, scores on a base hit from, of all people, Nolan Gorman, and all of a sudden you not only score the go-ahead, now you have to pitch and play defense, and they did both. I agree with Tim. Hey, I like high-scoring games to a point. I think in every series you should probably have at least one of them. But I think at the end of the day, man, these guys are good for a reason. And the the margin of error and the margin of skill is not that different. And so when you have close games, I just think it says a lot about the opponents and who you face, and the fact that, as I remind Ollie from time to time, they pay the guys in the other clubhouse on the 1st and the 15th too to do a professional job. And when they do it, you notice it.
And when you're not hamstrung by having certain players in the lineup every single night because of injury or because of whatever other reasons, it seems like they've gone away from the more analytical style of baseball they were playing early in the season. In game 1 of the series, they were laying down bunts, getting them on, getting them over, and getting them in. They did that again in game number 3. And like I said earlier, that feels like how this version of the Cardinals has to play in order to win. They're not going to outslug teams. It's refreshing to see that.
No, I agree. I think that this is who they are. Okay. I mean, at one point, they were swinging the bat with more thunder earlier in the season. That's kind of tailed off. So now they're finding other ways to win. And I think when you show fundamental baseball, I think not only do players and managers appreciate it, I think fans get a kick out of it too. Now, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But, man, when it worked like it did last night, it's something that you come to appreciate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And especially for the Cardinals, sort of purging a demon on national television. They have been horrible on national TV this season. They've been embarrassed 4 or 5 times on national television. And to win the way that they did against the Cubs in that moment and taking advantage of a team that has certainly been in a spiral of their own was good to see.
Well, I remember that was the Boston Cubs series Saturday night. I know those are 3 that stand out right off the bat where you just, got throttled, and some people pay attention to that. Other people, they because every game can be found these days. It's not like the old days of the game of the week. And this is all you can find. This is the only time you're ever going to see them. If you want to follow your team, you can do it anywhere in the world. But I think that for that traditional soul game at night, Sunday night, you want to make a better accounting than what we've seen in the past. And I remember the Chicago game where that thing just got out of hand so quick. Last night was a different story, and they threw a really good pitcher. One thing about the Cubs, they have some pretty good starting pitching. Now you can raise a question to their bullpen, but I think everybody's bullpen right now, with the exception of San Diego, might be vulnerable because of the times that they're being used. But it was a good, well-played game. Cubs made some plays too. I mean, they're a good team. They just didn't hit as much, and maybe Sonny Gray had something to do with that.
That's a great point, Claibs. And a quick reminder that this show is powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. He's Mike Claiborne, and his appearances on these shows are presented by Painting and Decorating Foundation of St. Louis. To talk about the Cubs, and very briefly, it feels like things have changed for them completely from the last time the Cardinals faced the Cubs. They have had good pitching, but when the Cardinals last saw the Cubs, the pitching was not what we were talking about. It was the offense. And there are teams that are reliant on different things. The Cubs appear to be a team that are reliant on scoring a lot of runs in order to win. If they don't score a lot of runs, they don't win. And despite Matthew Boyd's success, despite Imanaga, they're still beatable with those 2 guys on the mound.
Yeah, they are. And you're right. They have to hit. And when you look at their lineup, and I'm saying to myself, man, Dansby Swanson hit 9th. That's a pretty good lineup. I mean, Crow Armstrong is fighting it a little bit right now. Nico Horner, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the game, where you can hit him virtually anywhere. Michael Busch is a Cardinal killer, the new Cardinal killer. He and Ian Happ together, they have some really good bats, but right now they just aren't gelling. And maybe they're running into good pitching. Maybe they're overthinking it. I mean, every team goes through these phases during the course of the year. And there's nothing you can really do about it, just except show up the next day and try and be better.
Especially keeping in mind for the Cubs, the Brewers just don't lose ever. So every
That's one
game,
of the fascinating stories of the season. Yeah. And you and I talked about them early in the year. I had Cardinals, Cubs, Cincinnati in the mix for the division. I thought Milwaukee was going to have a hard time holding off Pittsburgh, and that they completely surprised me. I have to tip my cap to what Pat Murphy's been able to do. He's got a chance to be back-to-back managers of the year, and that's only happened one other time. And then Bobby Cox did it. I know the last time it was done was over in Tampa. Kevin Cash did it back to back. That's really hard. And I'm not sure, and you can kind of roll through your Rolodex on who else would be a candidate right now, because every other manager has kind of had their highs and lows. But what Milwaukee's been able to do is just been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think the names that come to mind, Clayton McCullough in Miami, that's one that pops up for me. Houston, again, I don't think they were expected to be as good as they have been this year, despite how successful they've been over the last decade. But there are a lot of different options. I agree with you on Pat Murphy. And organizationally, remember, they sent out Chad Patrick to AAA with a 3.5 ERA as a rookie, and they've not missed a beat. When you have that much depth, that you can send out a starting pitcher, a rookie, that was consistently giving you 6 innings of 3 runs or less, that's just so valuable. And it's something that the best teams have. The Brewers have pitching in spades, and I think that you can't overlook their offense, but the pitching's been the driving force for them, even though Woodruff just came off the IL, a month and a half ago?
Yeah, and Woodruff has found a way to have an impact. I'm just, every time I look at them, I shake my head, and I guess maybe we should have been paying more attention. When they decided to move Josh Hader, they let a couple other people go, Corbin Burns go, then Devin Williams they move, and you said, well, what are they going to do now? Well, they go out and find somebody else, apparently, and it's working. And so whatever they're doing, I'm sure a lot of other teams had to pay close attention to it. They have a very, very friendly payroll where, other than Yelich, they're really not paying a lot of guys a lot of money. And, they're able to manage it. And they're the kind of team where I thought if they needed to go get someone, they were in a position to do it. What Contreras has done for them has been phenomenal. And Bryce Harang has been a really good player. And they don't even have Rhys Hoskins right now. I mean, Hoskins was having a good year, not a great year, but, you look at their lineup, and I thought truly after the Adames left, you said, well, this is their heart and soul. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's gone. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, and who do they figure it out with? They figured it out with Andrew Vaughn, who was hitting 190 with the Chicago White Sox. He's hitting 348 with 7 home runs and 28 RBIs. I mean, they have figured out the recipe for success, top to bottom. Yeah. And it's a credit to them. They play a very fun style of baseball, and that's not a team that I want to run into if I'm the Dodgers or the Cubs or any of the teams leading a division. They are one of those dark horse teams that look like they have a bit of devil magic working for them. Now, if we talk about the Cardinals here, 3.5 games back, you welcome the Rockies to town. How much of a factor do you think it's going to be getting to play at home as compared to playing at Coors Field?
Well, the dimensions will make it more fair. I mean, there were guys flipping balls into the stands. You're like, okay, that's not a home run anywhere else. So I look at it along that line where you have some more fair dimensions as far as the game is concerned. So there's certain guys that can make a mistake and get away with it compared to being in Denver, where if you even think of a mistake, it's going to cost you a double. So I look at it differently, where the home field advantage truly is that when it comes to playing Colorado.
And consistency is key, right? You get to have a feeling of how to play at your ballpark. The Cardinals have played better at home this year than they have on the road, which is sort of an expected thing for different teams. But you can't sleep on the Rockies. And that's the difficult part is if you are the Cardinals at this point in the season with these young players, it would be really nice to be able to kick your feet up and say, all right, we can go and play average to below average baseball and probably still walk away with the win. You just don't have that level of confidence considering the past against this team.
This is American Legion ball. You just roll out, throw your gloves on the field, and the Rockies are supposed to roll over. Can't do it. They've already proven that they can beat you. So you have to go out in this series and jump on these guys early. I think the guy they're throwing tonight has a 6 ERA. And so you have to make him show you why he is a 6 ERA. You got to get on these guys early and take the fight out of them. You have to be able to jump on these guys early. I can't stress that enough. You can't give up 2 runs or 3 runs in the first inning, because all of a sudden now they have the momentum. And we've seen that before with this team. So we're rolling out with Michaelis. Who else are we rolling out? I know Michaelis goes tonight.
probably, I would assume Liberatore would be in there.
Michaelis, Liberatore, and then we come back with
McGreevy. So you get a win with Michaelis, and somebody in the comments, Ethan, says, if Michaelis gets the win today, feel good about the sweep. I think that's a very good point. If Michaelis does get the win, you set up two of your young, exciting starters, but the Rockies are a very different team than even when the Cardinals saw them.
Yeah.
They called it Kyle Karros. They have Warming Bernabel, who's been a great hitter for them. They're a team that is not unrecognizable, but very different. And they have some players. It's different than the Rockies of old, where you're wondering, did these guys play in the American Association 2.5 weeks ago? No, they have some ball players like Mickey Moniak.
Yeah, Moniak got a second life, and he's taking full advantage of it. They have him out in right field. He's doing a nice job with them. I thought they would miss Ryan McMahon a little bit more because he obviously he'd been there longer than anyone else. But yeah, they have some good individual pieces, and they are a different ball club when they leave Denver. But you don't lose 87 games for nothing. Okay, there's a common denominator there. I would start with pitching, but with that said, you better pay attention to them. And you can't think about looking forward to the Yankees this weekend. You better be looking forward to the guy who's on the mound starting a little after 6.
There's a lot of questions we have to ask about the Rockies and the Cardinals. But first, nothing beats relaxing on a hot summer day and watching baseball. And the simplest way to get in on the action is to download the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Pick 6 is available right here in Missouri. Don't miss out on the fun. Don't settle for a smaller payout. Switch to Pick 6. And right now, new customers can get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to get $25 in bonus picks with their first deposit of $5. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Claibs, here's a big question. The Rockies, 30 wins out of 117 games. Do they get to 41 wins like the White Sox did last year? 45 games left.
And they need how many wins? 10?
They need 11. And if they were to play at the exact same pace that they've played this season, out of these 45 wins, they are on pace for 11 and a half wins. I mean, that sounds like a gambling line right there.
It does. I'm going to say no. Because I think they have too many new faces to be able to gel to put something like that together. I don't know what their schedule looks like, how much they're going to be away from home, but I'm going to say no.
It's going to be crazy to see what they're able to do, if they're able to do it. 12 wins, it seems like nothing out of 45, but given the struggles of the Rockies, that is a big number. And I think it's interesting to say. I know that they have lost 87 games, but this team feels, to me, better than last year's White Sox team. Even though they haven't had as many wins, they feel like a better baseball team.
I would agree with you. I think what I would say more than anything else, I think their talent level is better than the White Sox. Now, I don't know whether it's whoever the manager is going to be. You kind of strapped with the fact that, maybe the White Sox had a little bit better pitching than the Rockies. But as a manager, I mean, you have this collection of individuals. Now, the difference is with the Rockies, they have a lot of prospects, internal prospects. White Sox, that's a little different. They have a lot of misses within the organization that I wouldn't even call prospects. And then they've had some spare parts with some other teams. So they're all over the place. I really feel like Colorado's in a better situation than the White Sox. They just need a little help from a pitching standpoint to see where they can really take this team. Because think about it. You have a really good shortstop, Gold Glover. You have a very good center fielder, Gold Glover. Moniak, we just talked about, has had a nice season out there. And they have some other guys that, when you watch them, you say, okay, he's not bad. The White Sox, it's just like a comedy, and it's unfortunate, but, it is what it is.
It is definitely an interesting conversation. You can't compare the two because they play in different divisions.
Mm-hmm.
But let's throw out a hypothetical here. If the Rockies play in the AL Central, I think they have a better record than they do right now, because then you don't have to go against the Padres, Giants, Dodgers, and Diamondbacks.
No, I agree. I think, again, they're a better team than the White Sox. And you're right. If they were in another division, who knows where they would be. Now, I'm not saying they were challenging for a wild card or the pennant, but I just think the fact that facing those three teams on a regular basis is really hard.
So some of the youth showing for the Rockies in their career against Michaelis, Kyle Farmer has the most at-bats against Michaelis, 13 at-bats at .231 average. But only two players on this current Rockies team have an RBI against Michaelis in their career, Mickey Moniak and Austin Nola. So hopefully he can take advantage with a young squad out there and a home crowd for St. Louis, who showed up a little bit against with the Cubs being in town, despite all their struggles. It was nice to see the stadium a little bit more packed than we had seen in previous weekend series.
I would agree with you. I think that we have to remind ourselves, those are the Cubs. Many Cub fans were here, a lot of them. I'm not sure if anybody's packing up the car driving from Denver to see the Rockies play. So the numbers might be down a little bit. We're going to have pretty good weather this evening, so that shouldn't come into play where it should be a distraction. And you know what? Come out and see a team that's you're supposed to beat. I mean, when you go to a game, you want to see your team win. So I think, considering the record of Colorado, the chances of you winning are much greater than maybe the fact that you were playing Chicago Cubs, where you did take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, that's great to see if the fans could come and pack it out. And there's also something to be said about the young players that they wanted to be up and front and center in the organization are now getting their chance to do that. And though it's kind of like baby steps for some of these players learning how to be major leaguers, it in some ways is more entertaining than seeing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah, no, I think you hit a very good point there. So, it's when you look at this time of the year, think about this as well. We've gone through it for an entire season of evaluation. Other teams are doing the same thing, obviously. Maybe they started a little earlier than we did. But overall, you're trying to see what this looks like next year, because you have to plan like that. What does this guy look like with another 50 at-bats? What does this guy look like if he, pitches more innings this year than he did in his career? All those things go into play because you want to be able to push them to be better for next year. So why not run them out there every day? And you know what? Take the lumps now. Take the lumps now, and maybe that prevents lumps for next season.
I think that's expert analysis. Claibs, we don't have a whole lot more to talk about except the Rockies and the Cardinals squaring off at beautiful Busch Stadium. That'll be played at 6:45 p.m. Central Time, so be sure to head out to the ballpark. If not, watch or listen on FanDuel and on the radio on KMOX. Claibs, do you have any final thoughts ahead of this series?
No, I would just tell everybody to come on out. It should be some interesting games. Obviously, the Yankees roll in this weekend. They're limping just a bit. This is a great opportunity for the Cardinals to gain some ground on the teams in front of them in the standings. And as I said, you go 7-2, you're back in this thing. And if you're back in it, then that's when the fun begins, where it will say a lot more about Ollie Marmol and his staff, because they're working with a short deck. They only have one left-hander in the organization right now, and I'm sure JoJo's down for tonight. So how he manages from this point on with a short deck will say a lot about what he's been able to do leading up to and including now.
Ollie Marmol deserves a ton of credit, and you heard what Wayno said.
You know what he deserves? He deserves a 2-year extension. That's what he deserves.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And, some people might not like to hear that, but this has been, in many ways, a thankless job, and he has earned every bit of praise that he has gotten, and a whole lot less scrutiny than he's gotten. And that's something that I think that we all can agree on, at least the people that have been around him. You're around him every single day. Wayno saying what he said was also very interesting, and I wanted to make this point to you. Final series of the year against the Cubs, competing for that final wild card spot. Do you think that's fact or fiction, or do you think he's maybe having the fan in him come out a bit?
Well, I have to tell you, that would be just ideal. And how things ended last night, there's some things behind the scenes that were unfolding that have been probably embedded in the minds of players and coaches and certainly managers that they like another crack at each other with something on the line. Now, I would say this, if there's nothing on the line in Chicago, we go there, then you might really see some things go haywire. So I just would say let's see who plays hard down the stretch, but that would be epic to see them playing in Chicago late in the year.
Leaving us on a cliffhanger. I love it. That's going to make everybody excited to see the Cubs and the Cardinals squaring off again. Claibs, thanks so much for joining us. He is presented by Painting and Decorating Foundation of St. Louis. This has been Card Central 365 on STL Sports Central, powered by Gray Bar, and the content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We will see you later tonight, hopefully after a Cardinals win and they inch closer to that final wild card spot.